What they told you about strength was a lie. Every moment you've spent defending yourself, explaining your worth, seeking approval from those who despise you, was the moment you handed them your power. The truth they don't want you to know: the strongest response to disrespect isn't rage, it's indifference. And today, you discover how to weaponize your silence into psychological dominance. You were programmed from birth to be weak, to react when they provoke, to defend when they attack, to seek validation from the very people who profit from your insecurity. Society needs you reactive, emotional, desperate, because desperate men are controllable men. But what happens when you stop playing their game entirely? When you become the chess player instead of the pawn? Here's your first truth. Rejection is information, not devastation. Every time someone dismisses you, mocks you, or treats you as invisible, they're revealing their own psychological territory, their insecurities, their fears, their desperate need to feel superior to someone. But only the weak give others permission to define their reality. The moment you understand this, everything shifts. You're no longer the victim of their judgment. You're the observer of their weakness. And observers hold all the power. Phase 1 begins with a fundamental rewiring. Most men believe they must prove their worth to earn respect. This is the lie that keeps them enslaved. Truth? Respect isn't earned through desperation. It's commanded through detachment. When you stop needing their approval, you become dangerous to their control system. Think about the last time someone tried to humiliate you. Your chest probably tightened, your heart raced. You felt that burning need to defend, to explain, to make them understand. That reaction, that's exactly what they wanted. Your emotional response was their victory. But what if you felt nothing? What if their words bounced off you like raindrops off stone? This isn't about becoming emotionless. This is about becoming strategically untouchable. The first weapon in your arsenal is strategic silence. When someone insults you, your silence becomes more devastating than any comeback. Why? Because they expect rage. They expect hurt. They expect some reaction that confirms they have power over you. Instead, you give them nothing. You rob them of the satisfaction they desperately crave. But here's what most people miss. This silence must be chosen, not forced. There's a massive difference between the silence of someone who's hurt and doesn't know what to say, and the silence of someone who's choosing not to respond. The first screams weakness. The second whispers danger. Your silence forces them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Maybe they don't matter to you at all. Maybe their opinion carries no weight in your reality. Maybe you're operating on a level they can't even reach. This realization destroys them from the inside. Phase 2 introduces emotional sovereignty. Your emotions are information, not commands. When someone triggers anger, that's data about the situation, not an order to react. The amateur lets emotions control their actions. The master acknowledges emotions and then decides their response. Here's a technique that transforms everything. When you feel that familiar fire rising in your chest, imagine you're watching this situation happen to someone else. What would you advise that person? How would you want them to respond? This mental distance gives you the space to choose your reaction instead of being enslaved by it. Remember, they can only hurt you with weapons you give them. Every time you react emotionally, you're handing them ammunition to use against you later. But when you remain calm while chaos erupts around you, you become the eye of the storm, untouchable, unshakable, terrifying in your composure. Now we enter phase 3, frame control. This is where you stop playing defense and start dictating reality. Most men make the fatal error of defending themselves against every petty attack. But defense implies guilt. Defense suggests their accusations have merit. Defense puts you in their frame, playing by their rules. Instead, you control the frame. You decide what deserves a response and what gets ignored. You determine the rules of engagement. When someone says you're not good enough for something, instead of listing your qualifications, you might simply say, "That's an interesting perspective," and change the subject. You're not engaging with their attempt to make you defensive. You're showing that their opinion doesn't warrant serious consideration. This drives them insane. They expected a fight. They got indifference. They expected you to prove yourself. You didn't even acknowledge their challenge. In that moment, you revealed who holds the real power in the interaction. But here's where it gets deeper. Phase 4 is about strategic detachment from all opinions, both criticism and praise. This shocks most people. They understand why you shouldn't care about criticism, but praise, yes, even praise. When you need compliments to feel good about yourself, you're still enslaved to external validation. You're still giving others control over your emotional state. The truly free man stands on his own foundation, his values, his discipline, his internal compass. He listens to feedback when it's useful, but no external opinion, positive or negative, controls his sense of self-worth. Think about it. If you need people to tell you you're good to feel good, then you also need to worry about people telling you you're bad. Both chains bind you to their judgment. Both make you dependent on forces outside your control. Phase 5 involves turning every attack into fuel. This is psychological alchemy, transforming their attempts to weaken you into the raw material of your strength. Someone says you'll never succeed. Let that motivate your work ethic. Someone mocks your appearance. Let that drive your fitness journey. Someone questions your intelligence. Let that fuel your learning. Every insult becomes information. Every attack reveals what they think might hurt you. Use that intelligence. If they think your weakness is your skills, make your skills undeniable. If they think your weakness is your confidence, develop unshakable self-assurance. Turn every critic into an unwitting coach, pointing out areas for improvement. This is the difference between victims and victors. Victims let attacks weaken them. Victors use attacks as raw material for growth. The energy they send to hurt you gets redirected into building your empire. Now we reach phase 6, the art of strategic indifference. This isn't coldness or rudeness. It's genuine lack of concern for things that don't serve your mission. When someone insults you and you respond with authentic indifference, it's devastating to their ego. They expected anger, hurt, some kind of reaction that proves they matter. Instead, they discover they don't even register on your radar. But this indifference must be real, not performed. People sense the difference. Fake indifference comes across as trying too hard. Real indifference comes from having bigger things to focus on than what random people think about you. Phase 7 introduces calculated responses. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult warrants revenge. Not every slight requires correction. The master chooses their battles based on strategic value, not emotional impulse. Sometimes striking back serves your interests. It protects your reputation or sends a message to others. Most times, it's just a waste of resources that could be building your actual power. When someone wrongs you, ask these questions. Will responding benefit me concretely? Will it advance my goals? Will it protect something important? If the answer is yes, respond strategically when you have the advantage. If the answer is no, let it go completely and invest that energy in your own growth. This isn't weakness. This is strategic thinking. This is not letting other people dictate how you spend your limited time and attention. Phase 8 achieves something most men never experience: true untouchability. This comes from internal detachment. People can only manipulate you when they find something you care about so desperately that you'll sacrifice your peace to defend it. But when you hold everything lightly, your successes, your relationships, your reputation, while still being fully engaged, you become impossible to control. You can love your family without letting threats against them dictate your decisions. You can be proud of your work without letting criticism destroy your confidence. You can want success without letting setbacks devastate your spirit. You have preferences, not dependencies. This makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Not dangerous because you'll hurt others, but dangerous because others cannot hurt you. When nothing external controls your inner peace, people lose their primary weapon against you. the threat of taking away something you need for your emotional stability. The final phase is integration. These aren't just concepts to understand intellectually, they're weapons to wield daily. Tomorrow, when someone tries to provoke you, you'll remember the power of silence. Next week, when someone criticizes you, you'll practice detachment. Next month, when someone tries to drag you into drama, you'll demonstrate strategic indifference. But remember, knowledge without action is useless philosophy. These principles only transform you if you transform your behavior. Start with the law that hit deepest. Practice it for 1 week, master it, then add another. Before long, you'll become the man others wonder about, the one who stays calm when everyone else loses control, the one who seems immune to the chaos that destroys others. You'll be the man who turned his pain into precision, his rejection into power, his weakness into psychological dominance. You'll discover what few men ever learn, that the strongest response to a world trying to break you isn't fighting back, it's becoming unbreakable. The weak react to everything, the strong respond selectively. The masters transcend the need for either. They exist in a state of chosen untouchability, observing the desperate attempts of others to disturb their peace and finding only ammunition for their continued ascent. Which version of yourself emerges from this moment is entirely your choice. The reactive boy who gives his power away to anyone who asks for it, or the strategic man who hoards his energy for purposes that actually matter, the victim who lets others define his reality, or the architect who builds his own kingdom of mental sovereignty. Your transformation begins the moment you stop seeking their approval and start commanding their respect through the simple act of not needing it. When you become genuinely indifferent to their attempts to control you, you become the most dangerous kind of man, one who cannot be broken because he has already chosen his own foundation. The game changes completely when you realize you are never playing to win their acceptance. You are playing to transcend their entire system of manipulation. And in that transcendence, you discover something they can never take from you, the unshakable knowledge that your worth isn't determined by their opinion, your strength isn't measured by their approval, and your power isn't dependent on their permission. This is your declaration of independence from their judgment, your graduation from their school of emotional slavery, your emergence as a man who bows to no opinion, fears no criticism, and needs no validation from those who were never worthy of determining your value in the first place. If this challenged how you see power, like the video, subscribe for more truths they don't want you to hear, share it, and tell me your thoughts in the comments.